Alright, in this episode I'm going to show you how I took an 034, pulled my perfectly working 009, added in a non-working 009, and ended up with a 009 with dual advanced vacuum and mechanical, all for 30 bucks. Alright, I placed before you an experiment. This is, as you can see here, a 231170034 Volkswagen Bosch distributor with vacuum advance. That's what that hole is there, as well as mechanical advance, if you see inside. Also known as a 043905-205. So hopefully you can see that there. It is genuine Volkswagen, genuine Bosch, and genuinely shot. So this is the 009 that came with my car. See if I can clean that off a little bit for you. I don't know if you can read that. 231178009, also known as the 09, because it has mechanical advanced, but it does not have vacuum. Now, the problem. The 034s are either made by some Chinese manufacturer. I'm not against Chinese parts, but generally they are not quite as good as I want them to be. They have their place. And this thing has no good bearings. So this case, not going to work. This case has good bearings. There's no slop, they turn real easy, will work just fine. Here's the real problem. Pull this out and try to put that down in there, and it is off by about 1/1000th, maybe 2. It just doesn't fit. Here, I'll show you from this end. So this one, snug fit. Okay. This one, almost so close, will not go. This also doesn't have the port for the vacuum advance, that there. So one idea that I'm going to consider, this is a backup. I currently have in my bug another 009 that I got off of a junkyard car and rebuilt with new points and condenser, and it's running just fine. I'm going to experiment. I bought this 034 for 30 bucks off of eBay, and they basically said all the parts are there, but the bearings needed to be replaced. They don't make those bearings anymore. These bearings are just fine. So, an idea, cut a vacuum port to match this one, install the mechanical advance that came with, not that one, that came with the 034 in here. How am I going to do that? I've got to get this shaft to be a teensy bit smaller, just a teensy bit. And if I can do that, then I can put this shaft and all of the 034 guts inside this distributor and see if it works. It's going to cost me some labor and 30 bucks. Whereas if I bought a Bosch brand new 034, they don't make them. If I buy a 035, which is very similar because I want dual advance, mechanical and vacuum, they don't make them. Well, maybe they do make them. They're expensive. Or you have to find NOS or used, reconditioned, or again, it's got to be hot sparks, whatever. And this is going to strike some of you as nuts. I don't want to run Pertronics. I've run it on my Jeeps, and they have crapped out on me on multiple occasions. I'm going with points. And I like points. Points are easy to understand. They are easy to diagnose. Worst case scenario, you got to adjust them. You can always carry a little cheap set of points in the glove box or somewhere, and you know, they crap out on you. It's a 15-minute pull the distributor, pull the points, put in new ones. Easy as pie. So I'm going with old school points. So now what I'm going to have to do is drill a hole in this, route it out to look like that. if I can do this, I can take an 034 and a 009 and merge them into a functioning 034 with vacuum advance, or if you want a 009 with vacuum advance. Again, I don't want Pertronics. Otherwise, I could just buy one of those. Alright, well, I'm going to see what options I have about getting this shaft ever so slightly smaller. Methinks it's going to involve some very fine sandpaper. 400 grit sandpaper. Closer than it was. Goody. Some of you may be wondering why I'm not just going to use the 009 mechanical weighted advance. They are not identical in that sense. If you look at the orientation of the notch for the rotor, the weights and the plate that the weights sit on are not oriented the same. So I want to make this thing as 034 inside as humanly possible, just with the 009 bearings and a slightly skinnier shaft. I'm getting there. I could start this at 220. I just feel like I want to take my time with the 400 to make sure that the shaft stays pretty darn smooth. I did try to see if I could chuck this up in my cordless drill. No go. That was a little too big. Hoping for a little variable speed, just hold it and have this thing spin while I hold the paper still. But that was not an option. Guess I could do it in my drill press, but I don't really feel like having this thing fly apart on me. Ooh, progress. Progress. Lovely bones. Good. Right there. Let's see. Oh. Still a little snug. Give it a bit more sanding. So if I hold it away from that, nice, nice, nice. Alright, time to clean this up. Alright, the 009 case, all cleaned up. So now, it's just a matter of inside, outside looking good. Now I just need to mark out and get that hole made. That's going to be a bit tricky, but I've got some ideas. Okay, so I have on this cardboard, I have drawn out the distributor. I have marked the hole for the distributor cap, and I have marked on that, and I've also marked the outer edges for the vacuum port. So now, take this, drop it on the notch, there and there. Now I know where the vacuum port goes. Okay, so I have aligned the 09 case with the good bearings in with that notch for where the rotor is, and I've got the coordinates here for the vertical edges of the vacuum port. Okay, now just come back over here, measure that distance in. Okay, good. Now I transfer it. And now I do the lower, remember it sits this way, the lower edge of the vacuum port. About like that. That look good to you guys? So now I'm going to drill a hole there, whittle out the difference using a burr bit. Here's the burr bit. I am fortunate, it is smaller than the hole that I need. So I'm going to drill a hole roughly the diameter of that. Get this in there, whittle, whittle. We'll be good to go. Okay, so 7/16 drill bit did it. That's the original, perfectly nice stamped. Mine's a little larger. I'm okay with that. Notice I'm not going to let you look at it too long. I may have to tap right there for a hole. I can do that. But they're starting to look a little bit more alike. That's where the condenser goes. Over there, I think. No, wait a minute. There's one. So, anyway, I got to still make some adjustments and some fine tuning, but progress is being made. Partially assembled. Again, this is the 009 case. I've got the vacuum port hole. The vacuum port hole here, I was hoping that screw hole and that screw hole lined up, but they do not. So this is the vacuum port. If you look over here, drops in, it's going to go right onto that peg, and then over here I'm going to need to have a hole drilled in to mount, and I'm going to have to do another one over here. So I'm going to pull out the points plate and then have this thing set in there, drill some holes, tap them for screws. So that's not an issue. The problem is, once I do that, this is going to cover up, which isn't a bad thing, but it is going to cover up the condenser plate holes. So this is where the condenser plate goes, and then that little indent centers in on there, wire drops in through the hole, bingo bango boom, you have your condenser mounted. So what I need to do is mount it on the opposite side. Here is the vacuum port, over here is where the condenser wire goes in. So all well and good, easy to do. So what I'm going to do is take that same 7/16 bit that I have and drill a hole. So that's about 7/16 wide, maybe 3/8, but I need it to be slightly larger. I'm going to keep it off that top lip, and I'm going to have it line up over here. Once I do that, I'll have screw holes for the vacuum diaphragm and a hole for the condenser. I will then drill a commensurate hole for the condenser screw that holds it flush, and I think the 009 case should be ready to be an 034 case. Okay, slight correction. That indentation, you guys are probably already shouting at me, that indentation is not what goes in that hole. That thing goes side mounted like that. The hole is for this part, which is going to go boom, like so, and be held in place with, it's around here somewhere. Where did I put it? You guys see it? There it is. This thing. So this is going to go in that hole like that and hold. Here, hold on a second. Okay. Holds that. That's going to clamp in, boom, on that. Nice and secure. This also then, same screw holds the condenser down. Can't do it one-handed. On there. Condenser off to the side. And I got the wire. So inside, I need to make sure that and then inside, take two. And then inside you have the points wiring going from there right to there. So all that is looking good. Now I just have to see if I can get the vacuum diaphragm on there. So I'll be with you guys in a sec. Alright, vacuum diaphragm. You can see there, the little actuator. So now I know where this thing goes. And I also now know where I need to drill some holes. There and there. Alright, I'll bring you back in a bit. Holes drilled and tapped for the vacuum diaphragm. I think we're actually ready to assemble this thing. So, wish me luck. I'll show you what it is on the, what it looks like on the flip side. Alright, I'm about ready to install my 09 to 034 Bosch distributor conversion. So I'm going to walk you through what I'm doing right now to make sure that I get everything properly placed. I have the rotor pointed towards that notch so that when I put the cap back on, again with that notch, it will have the rotor in correct relation to the spark plugs where they attach on the distributor cap, so that I know that this thing hopefully is in the right spot. I can't guarantee that that's going to be the case. That might be the thing that undoes me in this whole thing, is I may have to retime the whole engine, but we'll figure that out. I do have a piece of vacuum hose that I think should reach. It is some skinny stuff, like 1/8" hose, but I'm going to pull this and I'll walk you through them side by side just so you can see how different it looks, and then we'll go from there. Alright, placing the two side by side, there are a few things that I noticed right off the bat. If you look down here, these are basically 90 degrees off. So another way to think of it, if I have this rotor pointed at the notch, cap's closed, right? See there, points is not open. That rotor and that thing are off by, maybe, say, if the rotor was going 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock, that thing is going 11 o'clock to 5 o'clock, right? That's the cam that engages the engine. If this rotor is 6 o'clock, 12 o'clock, again, let me rotate it here, get it perfect. Again, pointed at the notch. We see down here, it's more 2 o'clock to 8 o'clock rather than the other one. So 90 degrees off about. So we have that one there and that one there. So that would require me to basically rotate on the cap everything by 90 degrees. So I might just move the plugs, and I will probably start with that as a baseline. I am going to get it so that I know that I'm at top dead center, cylinder number 1 with the distributor in, and once I get to that point, I will hopefully be able to then have all the plugs line up where they should, and then I will give this thing a test fire. So I'll bring you back when I got that a little bit more set up. Alright, so I got it hooked up. Here's the vacuum line running to the vacuum advance port on the carburetor. I did have it hooked there. I thought vacuum was vacuum. That is for a dual vacuum distributor, and that is your retard vacuum port. So got it hooked up to the right one. I think it's timed. I have checked. I'll show you guys that in a minute, but I have timed it with the vacuum line plugged to the carburetor and the vacuum diaphragm on the distributor plugged, and I think I've got it set to idle pretty well. It's running rough. The engine needs a rebuild, or at least a refresh, but I like it. So I'll start it up and let you hear what I hear, and hopefully it doesn't fall on its face. So let's give it a shot. Well, it runs, accelerates just fine, a little bit lumpy, and clearly I've got an air leak. Let's look in close and see one of the many places where that might be. Okay, these boots in here between the intake manifold and the dual port I don't know, pipes, those are probably shot. They have not been changed, I'm pretty sure, since this thing was made, so I would expect there to be, pardon me, an air leak there. I do not have heat risers. If you look up in here, they have been cut off, but I can do something about that. When I bought the Bug, it came with some extra parts, and one of them was that guy right there. So I will clean him up and reinstall him when I rebuild the engine, which is coming up soon. But all in all, my little distributor trick, I think, has done the job. And again, worst case scenario, I still have the 009 as a backup. So hasn't really cost me much, more than 30 bucks and some time, and it was a fun little project. So if you got some junk parts laying around and you want to give it a shot, go for it. I think it's worth doing. So anyway, now I just have to jack up the car, pull the engine, tear it all down, clean it all up, refresh, go from there. Alright, well, thanks for watching. If you like what you're seeing, please subscribe, please leave me some comments, and maybe give me a thumbs up. See you guys.